That is some old school typing.
Right. Okay, Jez, I'm not sure how well you remember this, but at school, well, it's obviously nice to see you again, but at school we had to write down 3 people who have influenced my life.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you might be able to read the first person for me, please?
First person, yeah.
Just gauge your reactions to that.
Yeah, okay. The first person I'm going to talk about is Jamiel. In junior school, we were playing each other in a game of football, in a football game, and we were always inappropriate. Do you want me to read that?
Yeah.
Inappropriate experience slagging each other off. I came into intake day. I came to intake day and found out Jez was in my tutor group, and I was annoyed. I soon made friends with him and are now good mates with him. After school, I normally go out and play with him as well as some of my other mates.
What's your reaction or memories of us back then?
Actually, I do remember that, John. Do you know what I mean? I do remember that because you went to Hiltonbury, right?
That's right. You were at Murden, was it?
I was at Murden,
Yeah.
and I remember playing football against you and hated you. Absolutely, we did not get on.
We didn't get on. Well,
We didn't get on, and
right.
I do remember actually when we were in tutor group that when I found out that you were in my tutor group, I think there was a bit of a bit of a dagger to the heart. But
For yourself?
Yeah, for myself. But actually, once I got to know you, and yeah, we got on really well, and we spent a lot of time together. You know, sleepovers and playing football.
Yeah.
And obviously, we were in the same tutor group together.
Yeah, and generally speaking, in terms of our friendship, how do you look back on it back then? Because for me personally, I always find a source of regret, or certainly did for a number of years, that we didn't kind of remain friends.
Yeah.
I think at college we obviously we saw each other, you know, and such like. But I think college was when we kind of like drifted apart.
Yeah.
More so, especially from old school friends from Hiltonbury, like Paul and Ian.
I think you know, for me, like it was, you know, being honest, it was one of those things that with the guys that I kept in contact with, they were the guys I was probably closest to. And I'm not sure why we drifted apart, really, to be honest. Maybe that was even earlier than college.
Oh, yeah, I think
maybe
it
towards the
was
back
later
end of Thornden. Yeah, I can't really put my finger on why that would happen necessarily, but I guess with any relationship, you end up some people you drift apart from, and other people you stay close with. There's certainly some people I've stayed close with, which I wish I hadn't stayed close with.
Really?
So, yeah.
Are we going to name them?
No, we're not going to name them.
We're not going to name them.
No, we're not going to name
them.
names.
Good idea. And what are some of your recollections? I mean, film reviews we did?
Film reviews. I think the biggest one, and I think you know where we're going to go with this.
I've got a fairly good idea of this.
The one that was at your sleepover at your house.
Yes.
And finding the porn tape was absolutely legendary. And finding it behind the cistern in the toilet was just an absolute genius.
What are your
So my recollection of that was that your dad was a bit of a porn king, and you had said this to us that he had a load of pornos, but had hid them because we were all coming round. And then we spent pretty much the whole night and evening trying to find this porno. I don't know what time it was, must have been well into the night, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. And we had found, and then I think I'd gone to the toilet and had found it at the back on top of your cistern, or behind the cistern there was a tape. And I did feel a bit of a conquering hero returning with the tape and finding out that we'd been able to watch the porno. And I think we watched it well until about 6 o'clock in the morning.
It was 3 hours. 3 hours long.
I couldn't.
Sure, we watched the whole thing.
I couldn't tell you what was in it, but I do remember when.
To be honest, mate, I probably watched it more often than you. So I can remember.
I think there was a lot of. I think there was a lot of people laying down flat on the floor. You know.
You don't remember the banquet scene?
No, I don't remember the banquet scene. Maybe. But clearly you do.
maybe for another day. What about yeah, and then what was it, English when we did? Did those film reviews?
We did do film reviews in English, and I remember we did Jumanji and Die Hard with a Vengeance. I particularly enjoyed your bit where you showed the guy being decapitated. I do remember that. I don't think Mrs. Jones was all that impressed. Was it Mrs. Jones?
No, was it the guy? Was it a guy, or was it Mrs. Jones?
The thing is, the other bit I remember about English was we watched Romeo and Juliet, and there was some titillation. And I think that you particularly were happy that there was some tits in Romeo and Juliet, which I don't think what Mrs. Jones had planned, but there you go.
Good memories. Yeah. But I mean, how's it been for you? I mean, let's go with what were you thinking back then in terms of hopes and dreams. That's the kind of idea behind this. But
I do vaguely remember thinking that I wanted to be in banking of some kind, and I think I wanted to be a stockbroker for a long time. And also the other thing is I made a bet with Martin Staniforth. I don't know if you remember him.
I know. Hayne.
Yeah, Hayne. And I made a bet with him that I would be in the army by the time I was 19. Had a 50 quid bet, and I think I was about 13. So obviously I'd had some sort of thoughts about joining the armed forces. But in terms of hopes and dreams, I think just probably just get a hot girlfriend was probably number one on your list. Yeah. And just make a lot of money.
Can I just bring your attention to hot girlfriends?
Yeah, it's fine.
To my letter for one moment. There's a few snippets of our recollections of our memories from this letter I wrote to myself. Yeah. I've just broken up with Jez because ! I've just made up with Jez. So I think in that short period of time we must have had a disagreement and just instantly made up. But I'm just trying to find you in here actually. Jed, Simon, Alex and Martin are going to Austria on Friday. That was another memory.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was skiing, yeah. We went to Austria for skiing, yeah. So this was not 1994?
This was, I wrote this in 94.
Yeah, we went skiing in Austria. That was the first time I went skiing, yeah.
Yeah.
And
memories of that?
Well, Catherine Leach was probably the memory of that.
Yeah.
So, that was my first kiss on the Austria ski trip.
Go on then, describe that first kiss.
I'm not going to describe that first kiss for you, John.
That's pushing it a bit too much.
It was dark, and then it was there was light switched on, and then it was still continuing.
Metaphorically, or?
No, literally.
How about this one for you? Jess is asking Anna to dance with her at the disco tonight. Presumably means yourself. Because I started this letter with in the first few lines. Jess is going out with Anna. Yeah. So that memories.
Well, that's where the relationship ended once I came back, and word had got round that I'd kissed Kath Leach. Yeah. But you know the sort of things when you're going out when you're 13 years old ends up being, if you hold hands, that's quite a big thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, that didn't last very long, and to be honest, I haven't seen Anna in a long time.
No, I think. To be honest, I was mildly obsessed with Anna Fulford. But
I know you were. I remember that actually.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, I think you were mildly obsessed with a lot of girls, though, John.
Yeah, that's true. That's basically a theme throughout the rest of the letter, I think. But obviously we knew each other at college, and after college you went away to Nottingham Uni, didn't you?
Yeah, I was at Nottingham. Yeah.
And was it business?
No, I did. I did an undergraduate degree in production and operations management. That's what it was, and then I did a master's in international business.
Yeah, at Nottingham as well.
Yeah, Nottingham. Yeah.
And what? Can you summarise that period?
A drunken fueled haze.
That's a good way to summarise it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just great fun. I mean, and I think a lot of people will agree that university is one of the best times of your life, and I had made some amazing friends. Two of those friends were best men at my wedding, and absolutely loved every minute of my time in Nottingham. Would I change it? Maybe I wouldn't have been drunk as much, and maybe I wouldn't have been, messing around with too many girls, but maybe I would have been a bit nicer to some people, but maybe.
Can I explore that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because my memories of university just are essentially that. Sometimes maybe I look back with rose-tinted glasses. So I went to Sheffield Hallam for a year to do media studies. This was in '99 to 2000. Changed over and did linguistics at Manchester University.
Oh, right, okay.
I thought I could go to a better university based upon my A-level grades and all these. That was my thinking at the time. And also I was thinking I'd like to do a postgraduate in broadcast journalism after university, but that didn't pan out, mainly because I'd had enough of education. But looking back at university, for me, I wouldn't say they were necessarily the best times of my life. Sometimes when I'm sat at work, I think, I'd love to be back there, but I think it was just the lack of a woman at university was probably the major issue for me.
Well, the big thing for me was I was a bit of a slut at university. So yeah. So I
that's the headline written.
Yeah.
We'll scrap all that school stuff.
Yeah, just straight in. Jez was a slut.
Direct quote.
Yeah. So I probably didn't treat some of the girls who, I started seeing girls and then was just like not interested and sort of would end up going off with other people. So probably I did, that's the one thing I do regret. It's probably the way I treated certain people. In terms of my university life, I had a fantastic 3 years. I was probably quite lucky. Quite a lot of the school friends actually ended up going to same university as me. So James Howard was there, Alex Ross was there, Ian Farron was there. So I had all those guys, and I didn't see them that often, but it was nice to always have that fallback. We also, quite a few girls were there, so Jenny Wilson, Becky Milcham were all there as well. But as I say, I made some absolutely fantastic friends, and they're still friends today. And in fact, last night I was out with two of the guys from university last night. So
take us back to Kingsway. What are your memories?
I just remember we used to just cycle around each other's houses all the time. I remember going to Luke Poulter's house, and he had a very nice house. And I remember playing.
That's true.
Yeah, I remember playing a lot of Mega Drive, FIFA. I don't know what that would have been. FIFA 94 probably. FIFA 94, around at his house, just playing football down the rec.
Yeah.
Cycling around, going down to the green. Do you remember the green?
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember all those sorts of things. Sleepovers, spending time with people. Trying to think of new ways to have fun, and then you sort of after about 14, I ended up spending time going to the rec, drinking cider and all these sorts of things.
Yeah. Well, how's life since university? So you spent a couple of years down in Southampton. This is
I did, yeah. I worked for a recruitment company, which I absolutely despised. It was the worst two years of my life in terms of just the work element of it. And then I joined Chorus, which was old British Steel, and then on a graduate scheme in 2005.
Yeah.
And then have worked there for the last getting on to 10 years now. So
yourself, you're quite, in terms of your job, how happy are you with
I'm not that happy at all, to be honest. I think that that's one of the things I regret is something that I've gone down a path that probably I can't really return from. But
really?
Well, maybe I can, but
look at me, mate.
Yeah.
Well, not as a model, but
yeah. No, what I mean is that yes, I get paid pretty well. I live in a foreign country, and it's been a good life. But in that respect, I'm not satisfied at all with the job that I do. And I'd love to do something totally different. I've always wanted to be in film. I think that's probably
in film.
Yeah.
Well, suddenly it's clear why you're here today.
Maybe not on camera. Maybe not on camera.
You want to be in film, really?
Yeah.
Well, because I don't really remember what people's hopes and dreams were necessarily back then. Really, I suppose, other than
I just wanted to be a footballer, or But films always interest me, and I've always wanted, to do, and I see some people's jobs, and I'm so envious of what they do. It doesn't have to be well paid. I realise that money is certainly not the be all and end all of life, and but once you start getting more responsibility and things happen, and maybe it's harder to pull away from the career path you end up that's ended up sort of it's more luck than by design. That's for certain.
Well, when you say responsibility, do you mean family and children?
Well, yeah, my wife's pregnant, and
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's good.
So my wife's pregnant, and I think we're moving back to the UK. We live in Singapore, and we're moving back, and we just got to provide for your family. So it's scrapping, ripping up the career and going to be a runner on a production set, probably for no pay for 6 months. It's not something that's probably worth.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, obviously you're having a child soon, so you're going to be becoming a father. Do you know if it's a mother or a mother? Sorry,
a mother or daughter?
Quite impressive at that age. Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
I don't know. My wife doesn't want to find out. I want to find out, but my wife doesn't.
You're itching to find out.
Yeah.
In terms of fatherhood, this is one of the reasons I did want to speak to you as well. Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your father wasn't around.
Yeah.
How has that affected your life?
The thing is, it was such a long time ago. I mean, I was 6 when he died. I don't remember him. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember him, but I suppose one of the things is I don't really talk about it with my mum either. Really,
you don't?
No, not really. We do occasionally. My wife brings it up more than I do, but when you don't have a father, I guess the thing is you're always looking for people to look up to. And I didn't even have a father figure in my life, really. So, but it's interesting, for me, I would be really interested to know what my life would have been if he'd been around, and whether I would have been a totally different person to what I am now. But all I would say is that I think my mum did a great job with me, and if I could raise my children as half as well as she can, then she did with my sister and myself, then fantastic. With my relationship with my sister is different. I mean, we don't really get on, but I love her daughter so much, and maybe in time things will get closer. I don't know.
Is it okay to explore that?
Sure.
Anyway? Is that something that harks back to your childhood?
Well, maybe. I mean, and maybe that's part of not having a father. I don't know. Yeah, we never really. I think we're just very, very different people. I'm an extroverted type of person. She's introverted. You know, we don't have anything in common in terms of the things that we like doing. But you know, at the end of the day, I love her. She's my sister.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers. I really appreciate that.
No problem. No problem at all.
Quite, yeah. I don't know, quite emotional. To be honest with me.
Hey, your life seems really interesting.
Oh, dear.
You've had some ups and downs, yeah.
Yeah.
You both your parents still alive?
Yeah, I was going to go there, but yeah, they're both still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew my dad was ill,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's kind of.
He's okay now, yeah?
No, he's
still
really, really ill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah, when was it? So he had the transplant in '99.
Yeah.
So he had the transplant. You can film this if you want, I don't mind. But yeah, so he had the transplant in '99. This was they failed in, when was it, about '92 or something?
Yeah,
like
I remember that he was ill. He was on dialysis for a long time, right?
It's fucking devastating. And then it got to.
But that's his life, right? I mean,
yeah.
So for the last 22 years?
Well, no, there was one. He did have a transplant in '99, which we probably may have heard about, and that lasted through to 2007.
And was he okay during that period? Or?
Yeah, I mean, he got a job. Back in production. He's all his work with manual labour. You know, so he got a job back in production work at a place called Ocular Sciences, which made contact lenses in Chelmsford. Yeah. So whilst we were living down there, then my parents moved down to Dorset, and he was commuting back in. He did that for 3 or 4 years. Then eventually they blew him out because of various changes at the firm, even though he was doing a very good job. But you know, this is really hard physical labour that he's doing. You know, after a kidney transplant, I remember him telling me a few years afterwards. He said he'd be picking up these massive kind of things, and just, you know, like the respect and adulation I have for him still is just like unbelievable. The fact that you basically, like you're talking about providing for your family and things like that, that almost seemed to me as if just like an exemplar, you know, a perfect example of the fact that basically you're almost kind of putting your health on the line to pick up the, you know, earn the bread. So anyway, 2007, so he was on dialysis about 92 to 99 after a failed transplant in about 93. So 99 to 2007, it's okay. As I mentioned, 2007, I'm back up in Manchester, get a call along the lines of, you know, it's not going, it's failing, because they have most of them have a finite amount of life, these transplants, in terms of kidneys. So yeah, it was, you know, then the kidney failed in 2008. I remember being back at my parents' place in Dorset, where his dad had said to my mum, "Oh, he's back on dialysis." So he's been back on that, and up until now, still is on it 3 times a week in Salisbury. So hard, and hard now. After the last 4 or 5 years, you know, you're an aging man. It's getting harder and harder. 2009, maybe something like that. He had because he had epilepsy when he was younger.
Right.
So he had a kind of epileptic fit as such. I believe watching the X Factor in a chair, fucked his hips up. So had 2 half hip replacements, but because the bone density is so poor as a result of the kidneys not functioning and the machine just performing a function, you know, that isn't as good as that. Had this. Thanks. Had 2 half hip replacements, which didn't really work. So subsequently, you know, he came out of hospital on crutches, you know, basically dumped on my mum's doorstep. You know, you deal with him now, that kind of thing. And then since then, it's just been a sort of slow decline in the last year or two, after various other things. I've had a couple of stents and things like that. In the last year or two, he's kind of basically been transferring from, you know, the high chair, because the home's all kind of adapted, high chair into wheelchair, using a slide board, and then at the moment in his bedroom, they're kind of like at the stage where they're kind of using a hoist. So yeah, it's not good, but you know, this was one of the reasons I kind of, it's selfish, I know, and I don't particularly feel that good about it, but in some respects this was almost like the conversation I probably wanted to have with you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously you haven't had a father, and I look at myself and I think to myself, you know, his life's been very hard, my mum's life's been very hard, it still is. You know, it's obviously been hard for yourselves in a number of ways. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I think with not having a father, if you don't remember it, then you don't, you know, it's certainly much harder for my mother than it was for me, because at the end of the day, you know, she decided that she wouldn't have a boyfriend or another relationship because of the two of us. And so it's been much harder on her, but we haven't really talked about it very much, you know. So it's one of those subjects that sort of we sort of gloss over, I guess. Yeah. Maybe it's something that we do need to have that kind of conversation. But with the fact of not having a father, if you don't remember it, you don't know anything different. So you make the life that you know, life is no different because you don't know what you're missing. But certainly, you know, you look at other people and you look at their relationships with their parents and with their siblings, and you know, people who have fathers, and you do miss it. But like I say, you know, it was what, 1987 when he died, so you know, we're talking well over 25 years ago now. So yeah, difficult to say for certain how my life would be different if he'd been around. But certainly, you know, not having a father, you know, as I say, I don't know what that's like to have one, so I've got no frame of reference really.
No. That's cool. I really appreciate it, Jess.
Yeah, no problem, John. Yeah, it was good.
It's like therapy.
Yeah, it's like therapy.
Perfect.